Okay, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the City of Bayswater in 2026. Glad to see everyone here. Hope you're all refreshed. And welcome to this evening's Agenda Briefing Forum. This evening is not a decision-making forum. It is the briefing on the agenda for the Ordinary Council meeting, which will be held next Tuesday, the 20th of January 2026. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. And please note that this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is announcements, and the CEO will provide an update to Council in relation to item 10.1.1, the road closure 172 Lawrence Street, Bedford.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in relation to that item, councillors, I'm just withdrawing that item from the agenda. The process within the report is not the correct process that we need to follow, because after the advertising it still needs to come back to council. So we're going to start the advertising tomorrow. The 35 days will then expire in preparation for the February council meeting, and then you'll consider it at the February council meeting to see whether there's any submissions received. So just putting it back another month.
Thank you. Okay, item 4 is attendance. The Deputy Mayor is on a leave of absence and everyone else is present in the chamber this evening. Item 5 is disclosures of interest. Are there any councillors who have an interest to disclose? Anyone? No? Okay, I'll disclose that in item... In item 10.4.2, appointment of community members to Disability Advisory Group, inclusive Bayswater Advisory Group and the Reconciliation Advisory Panel. There are people mentioned in that report that are known to me through my role as Mayor. It is an impartial interest and I will be staying in the room. Also disclose that in item 10.3.3, tender number 22-2025, City of Bayswater Civic Centre HVAC upgrade. It's come to my attention that a person I know is involved in one of the companies listed. I don't know their role in the company, but it's an impartial interest and I'll be staying in the room. Anyone else? Councillor Ladder.
I will also declare an impartial interest on 10.3.4, appointment to Active Transport Advisory Committee, and 10.4.2, appointment to Reconciliation, Disability and Inclusive Bayswater Advisory Group, for the same reason that I know some of these people through my work as a councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Black.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Likewise, declarations for items 10.3.4 and 10.4.2, the appointments to the Active Transport Advisory Group and appointments to the Inclusive Bayswater Advisory Group. I am known to some of these people through my work as a councillor. It is in partial interest. I'll be staying in the room for both of those items.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, so we will then move on to deputations. And this evening we have one in-person deputation, and I'll explain how the process will work. Each person who is presenting a deputation is invited to come forward and speak at the microphone for up to 5 minutes. As we get close to that time frame, I'll let you know so that you can conclude. And once finished, the councillors may have some questions for you. So the first one is in relation to item 10.3.2, the lease renewal, Jade Lewis and Friends, 96 Slade Street, Bayswater, and we have Jade Lewis has requested to speak in support of the officer's recommendation.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jade Lewis and I'm here to represent Jade Lewis and Friends. We are a community organisation working to protect young people, women and families by breaking cycles of harm and disadvantage and bringing hope to their future. Our work in the community, which started in 2004, has been on a journey and it's been through many seasons of evolution. First starting in a really intentional effort of just working in schools and with families around prevention, and then swinging the pendulum, working to work in the prisons, working with female and youth offenders for about 16 years. And along the journey, I went on to complete my Masters of Criminology, where I majored in juvenile offending. And so I've come all the way back to go, prevention is better than cure. So we're encompassing the whole lot, but in our new season, we will be taking this real intentional effort to educate our young people against the big industries, against trauma, harm, domestic and family violence. And our new strategy for our organisation will be released next month. So what brings me here tonight? We're seeking to remain at the Slade Street property, which has become a really important and trusted base for our work. From this location and with our new strategy, this is where we'll be executing our plan, preparing our resources and training a team to now deliver our seminars in schools and communities right across WA and addressing issues such as domestic and family violence, youth harm, addiction, mental health and more. We will also host small group family seminars, mentoring sessions, develop online educational content and produce podcasts which we will release online. Slade Street to us is more than just an office. It's become a really safe and accessible place where people feel comfortable when they're seeking help early and before issues escalate into crisis. As you can imagine, our work relies on stability and consistency. It's very important to us, particularly for families, women and youth who are or who have experienced trauma in the past. I believe that our presence at Slade Street for over 10 years now has been consistent, respectful, community-focused and delivering services that build the benefit for not just the Bayswater community, but right across WA. Removing the lease from us at this point, particularly at this stage in our strategic plan, would disrupt our services and potentially have that flow-on effect to the people that we're helping. Allowing us to remain seems to be a very practical decision that supports prevention and reduces long-term pressure, particularly on crisis services, which are at an all-time high, and strengthens our communities to be safe. And I believe this reflects the City of Bayswater's values of care, connection and community wellbeing. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much for your deputation. I'll just ask if there are any questions from councillors. Councillor Latta.
Thank you. In the report, it states that the city didn't receive financials from your organisation, which it normally receives in order to make an assessment. Is there any particular reason for that? Are you able to provide those?
Yeah, I think it was an oversight, which I had explained to the lease department here.
Okay. And the other thing, are you aware that this site is, that when the adjoining site was leased out, they were made aware that we were considering the future of that site as a whole and that it could be redeveloped at some point before your lease is up? Are you aware of that? Is that still...
At the beginning, we were made aware of that, but that was way back, 10 years ago. So those conversations haven't been had, but we are aware, because I'm a resident of the City of Bayswater, so we are aware that there's things happening in that space. So it doesn't come as a surprise, but we haven't been made aware of anything immediate or anything that will be happening soon.
Okay. Do you still feel like the site is the right site for you if there are considerations around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing now with our new strategic plan is we're looking at purchasing our own facility, but because we're just new into it, I think, if we're on a lease of 1, 2, 3 years, at a time. It just gives us that room to look at where we could relocate.
Okay. And I couldn't find heaps of information about your organisation. Does it have a board
Yeah.
that
Yeah, so if you just go
oversights
to
it?
yellowribbonproject.org.au, that will show you what our project does.
Okay. And does it have a religious affiliation?
No, we're a non-denominational organisational.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
you. Okay, so councillors, we've received 3 written deputations tonight in relation to item 10.1.3 and 11.1, and these have been provided to councillors and published on the city's website, and I will take those as read. Item 7 is questions on agenda reports, and I've been advised, Councillor Black, that you've got some questions on some. Are there any other councillors have any questions on items you wish to discuss this evening? No? Okay, so we'll start with item 10.1.3, request for minor district boundary realignment. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The officer's report refers to other instances where the boundary zigzags and those not being within the scope of this review or this item that was before council. Can I get a quantification as to how many other instances this happens within those boundaries, between ourselves and the City of Stirling? It just refers to other instances. Do we have how many?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance.
Through the presiding member, there are other examples along the district boundary if you go both north and south of the area that's being discussed, and also between our wards. Some of our ward boundaries do dip in and out, and it usually has to do with waste service collection to make sure that we're collecting on one side of the road or the other. So often a ward boundary in particular will go up a road, and one side will be one ward and the other side will be another ward, and it's similar with the district boundary between the City of Stirling and the City of Bayswater. There are places where it will go up the road, so one side will be one way, one side will be the other. But I can provide a larger map to show elected members some of those examples if you would like.
Yes, thank you. Is there a statutory period prior to a review of a district boundaries taking place, or is this done upon initiation of one or more local governments? Is this something that happens on a regular basis by the Local Government Advisory Board or anyone else?
I'll go to the Manager.
Through the presiding member, there is a requirement to review ward boundaries every 10 years, but I'm not aware of a requirement to review district boundaries at that time. However, when you are doing a ward boundary review, it is open for, because obviously the boundary for a ward also includes the boundary to the district, so it is open for residents to provide feedback about district boundaries at the same time as a ward boundary review.
Yeah, and at the last ward boundary review, which I believe was 2022, if I'm not mistaken, were there any feedback? Was the feedback given in regards to this particular district boundary as part of that ward boundary review?
I'll go to the Manager.
Through the presiding member, no. At the time that we did a ward boundary review in 2023, it might have started in 2022, but I think it finished in 2023. We didn't receive any feedback with regards to the district boundary. The process when you go out for a ward boundary review is to put to the residents proposals or ideas for changes to ward boundaries, which we did, and we didn't propose any changes to the district boundaries at that time.
Okay. It might answer my next question there in regards to how long a district boundary review usually takes, and that's part of the ward review. So does that take around approximately 12 to 18 months for that review to take place? Is that
So I think we would only be able to comment on the ward review.
the most recent ward
Manager?
review? Yeah.
Did you? Rather than district, because we haven't done.
So through the presiding member, yes, a ward boundary review can be quite complicated depending on the number of proposals that you put out for consultation to the public. In this particular instance, if you're only looking at a minor adjustment to the boundary, then it's up to the Local Government Advisory Board as to what level of consultation is required. If public consultation is required, then the work for the city is increased. If public consultation is not required, then the work is more limited.
Yep. Just a few more questions, please, Madam Mayor. If council were not to agree with the proposal set forth from the city of, or set forth by the city of Stirling as per their motion, and these residents, I guess, what is the next steps from here if those residents were to wanting to still move from the city and council were to decide otherwise in terms of that proposal?
I'll go to the manager to respond.
Through the presiding member, my understanding is that the Local Government Advisory Board, when looking at a proposal for the district boundary, would prefer that proposal to be jointly submitted by both or all impacted local governments. If the City of Bayswater doesn't agree to the proposal that's been set forward, I believe that the City of Stirling still has the option to submit that to the Local Government Advisory Board, but my understanding is that the board would prefer for local governments to reach agreement, and the recommendation in the officer report is to have further discussions with the City of Stirling rather than to not support the proposal.
And just a last question on this item, thanks, Madam Mayor. Are there any financial implications as a result of if that was to be the course of action for that resolution, going to the Local Government Advisory Board? And I'm thinking in the terms of if a planning application was to be rejected at council, it could be taken to SAT, and there are legal fees and financial implications there. Is there something similar in terms of if we were to reject a proposal similar to this?
I don't believe so, but I'll go to the manager to confirm.
So through the presiding member, the process is that we make a recommendation to the Local Government Advisory Board. The Local Government Advisory Board makes a recommendation to the Minister, and the Minister makes a recommendation to the Governor. So I don't believe that there would, because it's not our decision being made, we're making a recommendation, I don't believe that there would be any legal recourse in terms of the decision, the recommendation being made by the City.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions on this item. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions on this item? Councillor Ladder?
Through the Mayor, could I just get an understanding of whether, if the officer recommendation was adopted and conversations were had with City of Stirling, whether it's possible that the city might think that a boundary readjustment is the best? Like, does this rule it out as a possible outcome of discussions with the City of Stirling, or is that still on the table after this resolution?
Yeah, so I know what my understanding is, but I'll go to the manager to explain the intent of the recommendation.
Through the Mayor, the intent of the recommendation is to have a broader discussion with the City of Stirling about the district boundary. It's not to rule this specific proposal out.
Councillor Black?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one question, just in relation to timing. Lim 2 says requests that the Mayor and CEO write to the City of Stirling seeking a meeting. Do we have any particulars on timing on when that could take place and when that could be reported back to Council, or either through informal channels or formal channels or otherwise?
I guess that depends on Council's decision on the resolution.
Of course.
Yeah, but there would be, I guess, just administrative time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? I've just got a question I'll direct to the manager. So the instigating factor behind this request, is what's been communicated from the residents, was issues with rubbish collection. Has that all been, is that an ongoing issue, or has that been resolved?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is that there had been some missed waste collection earlier in 2025, but that has now been resolved through communication with waste collectors and also with labelling of bins. And I believe that that issue has been resolved, and we have not had any further complaints for some time.
Okay, thanks. Anything else on this? If not, okay, so the next item that was subject to a deputation was 10.3.2, the lease renewal, Jade Lewis and Friends Inc. Does anyone have any questions on this one? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question in regards to the lease terms that have been offered as part of this lease here. What terms have changed compared to the previous lease, as per the table at the bottom of the officer's comments section, just in regards to what is to be paid by the lessor and what is to be paid by the leasee? Is there any change to those terms?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair. Basically, the terms and conditions are in line with the current policy, so it fits within the criteria there. In terms of changes from the last lease, I don't believe there's any changes, but I can confirm that and I can provide further information on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item, Councillor Ladder?
Thank you. I'm wondering if I could understand what the difference is for the city between providing like a rolling month-to-month lease versus a 2-year lease, whether there's any substantive difference for our position in terms of the future of that land.
I'll go to the director to respond.
Through the chair, I mean, we haven't really looked at doing a different type of lease going into a month-by-month lease. I mean, it probably is possible to do something like that. That's not actually in our scope at this point in time to even look at that type of option. There is provisions in the lease to be able to bring an end to a lease if required for whatever reason, particularly if there's some sort of development that occurs. There are clauses in there to allow that to be expedited, but with that there's also some time frames to give both parties an opportunity to have some lead time when those sorts of changes occur. But in terms of a month by month, we haven't explored that.
Any other questions on this item? I have some questions and I'll go to the director. As was mentioned before, there's a comment in the report that the past 2 audit cycle documentation have not been submitted to the city, and the deputy stated that that was an oversight. So my question for the city is, what measures are we putting in place to ensure that that doesn't happen again?
Probably need to understand that it wasn't a complete audit that wasn't done. There were certain aspects that weren't completed, so some information was forthcoming, not all information was forthcoming. In terms of going forwards, we are putting processes in place to address that in future. We do keep open dialogue with the lessee, and we do this across the board with all the leases that we have. We do encourage them to put the information through. If they don't put the information through, we do go back to them and ask them to put the information through, and we do give them extensions of time from time to time as well to assist them. In this particular case, we are actually going through the process at the moment. We're just about to undertake the audit, and I believe the information will be forthcoming this time round.
Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one, which was subject to a deputation, which is 11.1, Councillor Black, replacement of trees lost in December 2025 storm event. Are there any questions on this one? Councillor Black?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The officer's report references the loss of approximately 110 mature trees. Does the city have an update on this figure, given that at the time of writing that report, the assessment was still underway?
I'll go to the director.
Thank you.
Through the chair, that figure is higher at the moment. So it was 110 trees that were damaged directly by the storm. So trees have been uprooted from the ground. They sort of fit into that category. As we're going through and cleaning up, we're also undertaking assessments of trees that have been damaged, because there's a lot of trees that were not necessarily uprooted, but they've had limbs broken and there's been a fair bit of damage done to them. So there's been an assessment of those trees, and at this point in time, there's about 45 trees that have been severely damaged that cannot be rehabilitated, and the best course of action is to actually remove them to ensure the safety for people in the area, and also in order to probably have a better tree in that location rather than try to have something that's broken or is structurally not sound in that location.
Just to follow up on that question through the chair, that's in addition to the number of trees that are lost, the 45 severely damaged, just from my understanding, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Given this figure, just noting that the officer's report mentions that these trees replacements can be accommodated as part of existing budget lines, will the city still be able to expect to deliver this additional planting without its regular planting program being impacted? And within that existing budget, just noting that those numbers are increasing, is it confident that the city can still deliver that?
I'll go to the director.
Thank you.
Through the chair, yeah, we can. It comes down to supply as well, so getting the right trees. So if we're talking about like for like, then we need to go and source the right trees. So there's a little bit of work involved, but yeah, officers will endeavour to get the trees in.
Yeah. And just one last question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just noting in those comments in regards to possibly some difficulty for 2026 planting season, is there any anticipation that some planting may have to be undertaken in 2027? For factors including those appropriate species sourcing, or if numbers are more higher than anticipated, given that assessment is still underway. And just noting that some of those comments were made as part of one of the deputations that was provided tonight. So just following up on those comments there, would that be a possibility?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, if there is difficulties sourcing trees for the 2026 planting, then we could spill over into the next planting season. So, but I mean, we try to source the trees the best we can, and we've got a fair bit of confidence that we could get the trees. But failing that, then we'd look at other options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? I have some. This might be a random question, but given that trees are considered assets and have a value, and they're damaged in a storm and need to be replaced, do we have any insurance that covers that, the cost of that?
We are actually putting in an insurance claim.
So it will be covered.
Yeah, so it comes down to not just necessarily the cost of removing and replacing trees, but it's also the Halliwell value. We're actually looking at that and whether we can recover some of that cost.
Good to hear that. Thank you. Any other questions on this? No? Okay, so that's all the items that were subject to a deputation. Are there any other items? I've got Councillor Black has indicated that he has questions on another item. Anybody else have any other questions? Councillor Latta, which item?
(10.3.1) the Holy Street footpath.
Oh, that's the one Councillor Black has, so that's okay. Any other items, councillors? Councillor Black?
The other item is just on the confidential item, 14.1.1.
Yeah. Anything else? All right, we'll go straight to that one then, which is 10.3.1, proposed footpath on Holy Street, Bayswater. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in reference to the motion itself, does Lim 1 of the officer's recommendation apply specifically to this planned footpath, or does this cover future potential plans for footpaths in Holy Street that may be considered by council in subsequent budgets or decisions? Just want to get the clarity on that one.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, so this is referring to the current project. So in the current financial year, probably not necessarily spelt out that clearly, but I suppose Lim 2 sort of implies that. So not building the footpath now does not scrub it off the actual master plan. It'll probably still sit on there, and it could still be a consideration in future if things change.
Thank you.
Councillor Latta.
In the report, it talks about the city wanting to avoid carry forwards, and that's why it's not going to reallocate this money. My question is, what's wrong with having a carry forward?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, it's probably just not a good practice to, if you know you're not going to spend the money, and you can't spend the money to then carry it over. Like this, we can put it back into reserve. It gets managed through the reserves, and then it can be brought back into the budget when we're ready to build a footpath.
Does the city staff have capacity to begin another project? Like, are they at capacity with their current projects? Is that the issue?
So my understanding is that it's not just the capacity, it's just the design and engineering around footpaths, but I'll go to the director to...
Through the chair.
Expand.
So, the biggest issue at the moment is timing. So, if we were to select another pathway, we'll have to go to consultation, we'll have to prepare designs. By the time we go through that process, we're not going to be building a pathway this current financial year, and that's how it ends up being a carry forward. So, it's just purely timing. If this happened earlier on in the financial year, we might have a chance to transfer the money. We've done that with one of the other projects earlier on in the financial year, but at this point in time, being January, by the time we make a decision and move to another project, we just won't have enough time to actually construct it this financial year.
So is the cost of the $55,000, is that entirely for construction, not for design and engineering?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, so the design's actually carried out in-house. So we've got a design team, they do lots of projects, and this is just one of the projects that they do the design work for. The 55,000 covers the actual construction, so we use a contractor to construct the project. There's also overheads applied to that as well, but that is the actual construction cost. The design is actually absorbed within that team. They're already accounted for, so that's not included in the 55.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this one, councillors? No? Okay. Are there any questions on any other item? No? Okay, so we do have a question in relation to the confidential matter. So members of the public will now be going behind closed doors to discuss this item. And please note that although we'll be reopening the meeting following discussion, no further discussion will take place and the meeting will be closed immediately. Councillors, if there's nothing else, I will close the agenda briefing forum at 7:38 p.m. Thank you.